Right, some bad news on the development front. One of the parts failed quality control. We know how to fix it, but it'll take some extra resource. It's on hold for now, but you can order the extra work from the laptop at any time.
Of course it failed. Of course it failed. The one time I do a double upgrade, one of the parts has to fail. What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode. Episode number 19 today for the Brazilian Grand Prix. You can see we do have a brand new part fitted for the chassis, but our aerodynamic upgrade that we were meant to have to the rear downforce has failed. Unfortunately, we're going to have to spend another 500 points to fix that. So yeah, little bit annoyed and peeved off, really, because I thought we were going to get a really big hit of performance here for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Now we have, at least, you know, the one that failed is probably the lesser one of the two, I feel. I think we'll benefit more from the chassis weight reduction as a whole, because as a whole that will lighten up the car, so we'll gain some straight line speed there. Potentially that means I can then run maybe higher wings and counteract that, and so we'll pretty much be where we were before the upgrade in terms of straight line speed, but I'll have that extra downforce maybe for the race, or that could just be making some excuses really for the part failing. We'll have to see, but we're going to move swiftly into practice and see how we do here for the second last round, the Brazilian Grand Prix. Let's get into it.
It's Friday morning here in Brazil, and time for today's practice session at the wonderful Autodromo José Carlos Pache here in Sao Paulo. Turns 1, 2 and 3 that form the Senna S are a series of tight left, right, left turns that really are an extremely difficult sequence of corners to master. The first turn runs downhill left-handed and provides massive understeer. It's then followed by a fast right-left combination through the Curva do Sol and onto the Reta Aposta straight.
Added in 1990, when F1 racing returned to Interlagos, it is fitting that one of the best corners on the F1 calendar takes its name from one of the sport's greatest drivers, Ayrton Senna. Get this section wrong, and you'll leave yourself open for the overtake on the approach to turn 4.
So delving into practice here at Sao Paulo, doing the track automatization as always at the very start. That was all fine, 50 out of 50 points for that. The same could be said for the fuel saving as well. Obviously, a lot of corners where you can really just lift off and let the car roll through to save the fuel and very easily get into that full kind of nearly purple. You can see I didn't get quite the full actual purple time. It was right on the line then. Then doing the race strategy in the qualifying. The only thing that was a major issue was tyre wear. I found you can see right in the red there. The first sector, the first few corners at Brazil really just kills it. So all in all, a bit of a mediocre practice session, but it's coming to the end of the season, to be fair, so in all honesty I'm not too fussed about it. So let's just get straight into qualifying then and see how we do.
So it's time for qualifying here at Interlagos, the Autodromo José Carlos Pache. The teams have completed their preparations and are just waiting for the pit lane to open before they take to the track. Looking at this field today, Ant, do you think we're going to see anyone take a chance? Maybe run the harder of the available compounds and save some of the grippy tyres for the race tomorrow?
So setting off for our final lap here at Sao Paulo, you can see overcast conditions at the moment. There may be some rain right at the end of the session, so I thought I'd go out early. You can see definitely the track surface looks kind of half and half, almost like there has been maybe like a few droplets of rain. It definitely did feel a little bit slippery out there. You could see through the first few turns a little bit opposite lock, but generally you can see the first sector pretty damn good. I felt I was nailing it a little bit wide there on the exit. Probably just lost a tiny bit of time there actually than gaining any time extending that part of the circuit. Then climbing up the hill, generally pretty good, felt very planted. You can see revving out fifth gear very harshly to kind of get the car right up the hill. Some weird patchy shadow work here, you can just ignore that. But then as we come through here on the radio,
Rich mix is unavailable. Rich mix unavailable.
Which is horrible news, and news that I didn't actually hear at the time, because for some reason the entire time I play this game basically I can't hear my team radio very well. It's very low volume compared to the recording for the videos, so I did not hear this at the time. So I was just going about my business, going around the lap thinking, okay, I think this felt like a pretty good lap, went wide a few little times here and there, but generally pretty decent. So we're going to come across the line thinking, okay, it's going to be a decent lap time, but this entire time I didn't have the maximum or even rich mix, I'm assuming, because the engineer said no rich mix, so I assume that also means the maximum fuel mixture available, and we've qualified in last place. P20 on the grid. Carlos Sainz comes in 14th place. We're on last at the Brazilian Grand Prix due to that engine malfunction with no rich mix, unfortunately. We do have a very fresh engine ready for the race, but yeah, seemingly major issues with Renault there and the Toro Rosso gang, and yeah, I think it's looking like we've got a very tough time ahead of us, and pretty much a last question mark challenge for the Brazilian Grand Prix.
With so much on the line here today, I can't help but shake the feeling that we're going to have a bit of pushing and shoving, Anthony Davidson, especially into turn 1 this afternoon.
Well, we do see a fair amount of that here at Interlagos, Crofty. It's a tricky braking zone, of course, as you're heading downhill into the Senna S, which always makes it easy to lock the inside front and run a bit wide. We've seen a number of occasions over the years with someone from the leading group taking a bit of a knock on the first lap and having to recover. That's one of the reasons we've had so many exciting championship fights here. Hopefully, though, it'll be a clean start, of course, but as you say, I wouldn't be too surprised if it's not.
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Kimi Räikkönen's perfect
Blimey!
lap yesterday sees him start from pole position and a Toro Rosso alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Wehrlein, Ericsson, Fernando Alonso and Van Dorn, Stroll, Verstappen, Ocon and Carlos Sainz, Vettel, Magnussen, Daniel Ricciardo and Perez, Palmer, Massa, Lewis Hamilton and Nico Hülkenberg. Grosjean and Valtteri Bottas starts from the back of the grid.
So, the starting grid looks very different to what I thought. We've gone from last place to second on the grid due to grid penalties. Oh, blimey indeed. Wow, what a turn of events this is, and such a freak grid that now I find myself planning a one-stop race for this strategy. I'm lined up next to Kimi Räikkönen's Ferrari car there, you can see on the right-hand side. And we're on the front row. We're on the front row. So here we go to 5 red lights for the Brazilian Grand Prix. The second last round of the season from second place on the grid. 5 lights are out and we're underway. And initially you can see we actually get a great start compared to Räikkönen. But then in second and third gear, slipping and sliding a little bit. And then into turn 1, we try our best to maybe go toe-to-toe with Räikkönen. It doesn't work out. Into the next few corners, Räikkönen gets the traction down. The downforce works for the Ferrari car. And we unfortunately just can't match him. So we're going to have to settle down for second place. We can see the Saubers are still in the mix there. We've already got one Sauber still in third place. We've got the other one being overtaken maybe just about around the outside by Fernando Alonso. But we've got a bit of a buffer to the other faster cars. So Räikkönen may be out of this race already for us to challenge today. But the other slower cars, well, they're going to get held up by the likes of the Saubers, the McLarens. And remember, here around Brazil, the entirety of Sector 2 is going to be very difficult for them to overtake. A lot of dirty air in these corners. Obviously down up the hill and down this main straight, yes, there's going to be overtaking opportunities. But for the main part, for most of this circuit, it's going to be quite tough, I think. So I think we're in a very good shot of maybe getting even, dare I say, a podium. So let's see. We go through the next few laps. Still in second place we are. The two Saubers still actually lining there in third and fourth, I believe. Fernando Alonso unable to overtake that Sauber car. But meanwhile, you can see the Red Bulls and the likes of the Force Indians making a move. You can see, I think that's Esteban Ocon's helmet. I think that just is going down the inside of the McLaren. You can see the straight line speed difference is absolutely embarrassing and just depressing there for Stoffel Van Dorn. And then you've got Sebastian Vettel tucking in right behind, but you've got Hamilton not too far as well. Valtteri Bottas, though, I believe, is still in second last place at this stage of the Grand Prix. So we're just going to go through the order and kind of look where everyone is. So you've got the Haas, then the Force India, then you've got our teammate Carlos Sainz, then there is Lewis Hamilton there. Then behind him, you've got Felipe Massa, I think that is. Yeah, Felipe Massa there in the green helmet. And then behind him, you've got the Red Bull racing car of Daniel Ricciardo. Max Verstappen in stark contrast, already somewhere up into P6. And there, as I mentioned, is Valtteri Bottas in second last place in the order, still unable to get past the two Renault cars. As we move through the laps then, at this stage, I'm just having a very kind of, calm race, really, in second place, just trying to do the best I can in terms of pace. But meanwhile, it's all kicking off behind me. You've got one of the cars overtaking the Sauber. Then you've got the McLaren obviously going down the order. Alonso being overtaken by Verstappen, and now he's got Vettel for company there. So Vettel and Verstappen both making their way through quite nicely. And behind it looks like Hamilton is also right up the back of the Force Indies, I think that is. But you can see climbing up the hill, Vettel unable to overtake Alonso straight away. And you can see through those corners it's going to be very tricky for those faster cars to do so. Then as we move on, Lance Stroll now is up into third place. He's already overtaken both Sauber cars. Then you can see it's going to be Ocon overtaking overtaking the last Sauber car there in the way, which is Pascal Wehrlein. And then you've got Verstappen also closing up. And then you've got Vettel and Hamilton, you can see, are tucked up now behind the Sauber, who's just been overtaken by Sergio Perez. So Hamilton looking right on the back of Vettel, and actually here with the Mercedes power, maybe Hamilton will have a pop on Vettel, as Vettel doesn't look to be closing too much on the Sauber. And here goes Lewis down the inside. So the two of them go side by side, obviously in real life championship contenders in this career mode so far. It's really all been Hamilton with so much consistency this season, and you can kind of see why, maybe in the game at least. Hamilton making wasting no time at all to get past Vettel, whereas Vettel has wasted pretty much an entire lap there behind the Sauber. Meanwhile, back to the front, Verstappen finally does close up to that Sauber. Eventually a Wehrlein overtakes him, and then also you can see following close behind is Sergio Perez. The hand of anger goes up in the cockpit there. He goes side by side, and I think he'll just about maybe bully the Sauber, bully past the Sauber of Wehrlein, and he's just going to get ahead up the hill. Then Hamilton is going to close right up to the back of the Sauber as well. You can see in the background there. But we move back to our POV finally. So you haven't seen much of our POV because, to be honest, frankly, nothing much was really going on in my race up till now, lap 9. We can see now finally my engineers asked me to change strategy for a two-stop with 2 sets of super softs at the end. I do agree to that strategy, but then pretty much as soon as I agreed to it, then I thought, hang on, why have I just agreed to that? Actually, I think just the one stop's going to be the way to go. I actually have some decent pace here, keeping ahead of Ocon for now. You can see the gap is pretty big on the mini-map there. So for me, there's no point changing my initial strategy, so we will be sticking with the one stop. You can see now there is Ocon getting away from Stroll. He's overtaken him. We haven't seen that overtake, unfortunately, but we can see now Max Verstappen getting right on the back of Lance Stroll. And down this straight with DRS, the Red Bulls actually have some very, very decent speed. Down the inside he goes of the young Canadian in the Williams car. Obviously, we've seen so many times the Williams been so good this season due to probably that Mercedes engine in the back of it and pretty much nothing else. And that Red Bull car manages to cruise past it, really. So Verstappen doing some good work under braking. And then very late, just after that, I think this is on the same lap, I think, Lance does come in along with Lewis Hamilton, who was unable to actually overtake Perez, it was, in a straight line there. So they're coming in early from their set of super soft tires. They'll go to another set of super softs, at least the Williams will. I'm not too sure about Hamilton, but that suggests that they're going to do that two-stop that I'm going to ignore. So they're going on another set of super softs. Then we'll probably go to soft tires at the end, whereas obviously I'm doing the exact opposite, but with a one-stop. I'm on soft tires, still going on lap 12 as we move on to lap 13. You can see now, as my tyre wear starts to kick in, Raikkonen, who's already made one pit stop already, is cruising up to the back of me. So at the moment, I'm in first place, defending for first place, but Raikkonen is pretty much an entire pit stop ahead of me at this stage. So you can really see all the way from pretty much turn 1, lap 1, Raikkonen has had the pace, and he's had this in the bag pretty much as he tries to go around the outside. I do actually put up a fight here, and I try to defend from him as best I can. I do manage to actually squeeze him out there. I leave him the room, but he just doesn't get enough traction around the outside to actually make the overtake. So for now, I do actually stay in first place, but it's pretty much inevitable that he will overtake me. But at this stage, I mean, I've got such a sizable gap to Ocon behind me that I thought there was some kind of point to maybe defend from Raikkonen, because you never know, if I hold him up enough and then he makes a second pit stop, maybe I could just about maybe challenge him for the win. I wasn't too sure at this stage, but in reality, in hindsight, now looking back at this race, I probably should have just let him go, because I think he would have waltzed off in the distance, because he's pretty much going to do that as we now go through what is effectively the last few corners now up the hill, obviously going through the kink, which is technically a corner, and then Raikkonen will cruise up here. He'll have DRS, obviously, and at this stage, I'm pretty much a sitting duck with the Renault-powered Toro Rosso. We move to the left-hand side of the circuit. He's going to go to the right-hand side. That'll be the outside for turn 1. We'll turn to the inside for turn 2. You can see I try my best to jockey for position down the inside in third gear here, but then quite awkwardly kind of forced out to the curbing a little bit by Raikkonen, although he does make a mistake. So I come back at him, do a bit of a switchback move on him on the racing line, and we try and squeeze him a little bit to the left to try and put up as much of a fight as we can, because at this stage, I'm not giving up quite yet. We try and go around the outside, but then Raikkonen's had enough. He bullies me out the corner, a little bit of a bang on the tyres, and then he's away, and that's pretty much the last I see of the Iceman this afternoon. So I continue on now to lap 16 now. So a couple of laps later, and now we're finally come in for our one and only pit stop onto the set of super soft tyres. So at this stage now, really just going on to that tyre and then just seeing how it goes and hoping and praying that the cars behind us aren't fast enough on their, two-stop strategy to catch up to us. But the medium tyre is, it's an okay tyre. It's not brilliant, just like we've seen many times before in previous circuits. I'm never thrilled about going on the hardest tyre possible at a race weekend, because it generally doesn't rubber in very well. It takes some time to heat up, so it just generally doesn't have very good initial response. But It's the way to go, I think. I think the two-stop, we don't have the pace for the two-stop. You know, remember, we did qualify in last place, albeit with an engine failure of the rich mix mode, but still, we qualify in last place way off the pace. So I need to maybe take that into account. Although you must say, from the start of this race, in the way we've been able to keep second place, you would imagine that it looks like that rich mix failure did probably lose us that entire, like, second, I would say, over the lap, which is kind of crazy to think about, that we lost a second in pace just from rich mix failing, or maximum qualifying rich mix failing. So that kind of does show the new max mode in the game that the game allows you to have in qualifying. It really does show how much that actually probably gains you in time in reality, and why probably you're not allowed to run it in the race, because if you did, it probably would drain your fuel so fast. And the advantage would be crazy, though, if you did use it for, like, even a little spurt there. So I kind of see why maybe the game doesn't let you use it. Because if I'm losing a second over a lap around Brazil just from having that to fail, that's pretty big. That's pretty big. Because we're not struggling that much this race. Clearly, in the race, it doesn't look like we're 2 point whatever off the pace. And you can see that with that last lap here. We closed rapidly up on Lance Stroll. Although you could see in Sector 2, really struggled to get past him. And he was really being a bit of a nuisance to me. If you can see, Sebastian Vettel has now closed up on us. So we do have DRS. So maybe we can try pop into turn 1 as we cross the line now, as it'll be for lap 19, but Stroll really holding him up here, so I need to get past him ASAP. You can see I have a little look and a lunge, and that actually scares Stroll into a lockup. Then you can see there initially brake checks us into turn 2 as we were about to turn in right and try and get a kind of good line through there, having to lift off there, really annoying. So that did kind of peeve me off quite a bit. You can see Vettel's really now right up my gearbox with the proximity arrow, and you can see him in the left mirror. So up into rich mix, and now at this stage I'm kind of looking for just any opportunity now to pounce down the inside of Stroll and basically just get a bit of revenge for him brake checking me. And we can see we get a great line up the hill, revving out fourth gear, fifth gear down the inside, making the lunge, lock up a little bit, but no contacts made there with Stroll. We squeeze him out, and Vettel also very opportunistic from him, very wily old fox move there from Vettel to kind of just follow me through. His lance was sent wide a little bit, and we both get through, but just showing how little pace Stroll had there in those corners. But now I've got Vettel to worry about, but much like the fight with Raikkonen, in the end there won't be too much point of putting up a fight on Vettel. But the difference here is we're on lap 19 now, so there aren't as many laps left in the Grand Prix where Vettel can use his pace to come back at me, because remember, he'll have to make a second pit stop now. So as we move on towards lap 20, down the pit straight, he's going to try and maybe make a move to the left-hand side. We're in rich mix at the moment. He's going to have DRS, but into turn 1, he's going to try and outbrake us. We're going to keep the outside line, and we're going to try and just pinch him out on the outside there. You can see he's not going off of his car alongside, so I'm allowed to kind of just take the road basically on the racing line, just like we've seen in real life, and we've for now defended. But then as we move on to the next lap, Vettel's got so much more overspeed now as we move across the line for lap 21 with DRS wide open, sparking away there, and he's up the order into P4, and we're down to P5. But as I mentioned, because he has to make that second stop, and we're on lap 21 now, there just aren't enough laps left in this Grand Prix, so I think we may actually have a very good chance of actually finishing ahead of Vettel, maybe. I don't want to jinx it, but I think maybe we have a very good chance if we can just keep on going as hard as we can on these medium tyres, and when he makes his pit stop, I don't know if there's enough laps for him to catch up. Meanwhile, a man who probably could catch up to us is Lewis Hamilton. He's going to overtake Lance Stroll, and he's a man on a mission, and he goes down the inside of Stroll and actually forces him wide a little bit, but he's going very, very rapid here, and he's going to close up to us very, very fast. And so the problem with Hamilton here is he does have a lot more engine power than Vettel, and so he may get past us very quickly, then overtake Vettel, and then speed away past Vettel, and then we'll just have to see. But at this stage, I'm not going to lie, very unknown situation of where we are in this race. At the moment, it's P5 on the road. I don't know where that will be at the end of this race. But another man on the charge is Max Verstappen, overtaking both Force Indias in very quick succession here down the inside as they start Sector 2. And Verstappen is a man on a mission as well. His teammate actually struggling in this Grand Prix, Ricciardo, way down the order still, trying to get past those slower cars. It's pretty much been a very, very tough race for a lot of these guys. Very much a last question mark or down the order question mark challenge for a lot of these top runners. But now we move on to lap 29 now with 7 laps to go in this race, and now we're up into P2. So you can see Vettel has made his pit stop. Hamilton is now charging on soft tyres. He's going to go round the outside of me. You can see this is what I meant. Hamilton getting some very, very decent speed, but for now, trying our best to defend, just like we did in Austria, trying to just defend it through the corners as desperately we can, and tactically trying to use the fuel down this back straight as we go on towards Sector 2. We're in standard because actually we squeezed Hamilton out enough that we could defend from him on lap 30 without using rich mix. We're down to lean for Sector 2 to save as much fuel as we can so that I can use rich mix. As we go on to lap 32 now, we have not got enough speed through the first 2 turns, so we have to get up into to Rich Mix to try and defend from Hamilton. We're going to move to the left-hand side, and Hamilton's going to go to the right. We're going to have to try and squeeze out Hamilton if we can. Late on the brakes as we dare, but he's on the softer compound tyres. A little bit of contact made there. A little bit of argy-bargy stuff there between two fellow Brits. For now, we keep it ahead. That was a little bit close on the contact there, but for now, we're still good as we go into Sector 2 on the same lap, though. We got yellow flags on the mini-map, and it's going to be safety car has been called out and deployed. So with 4 laps to go, this is going to get very, very interesting, because on the restart, there could be a chance for Hamilton and Verstappen to jump me quite fast, or vice versa, I could get away from them and really hold this second place quite comfortably. But as we move through on the very next lap, literally 1 lap later, you can see now it's Valtteri Bottas out of this race and Lance Stroll out of this race, but that's during the safety car period, so that suggests that they've crashed during the safety car period somehow, which is very, very intriguing, because the safety car got deployed before those messages came up. So we're going to have a look at a replay of that and see what's going on there. But you can see we've got more worrying issues to worry about at the moment. You can see on the right-hand side, we're falling back apparently. I go up into standard mixture. The delta time's not there anymore, so the game wants me to catch up to the safety car. You can see in the minimap, no one's there. Hamilton's trying to overtake me, and I think the rest of the guys are literally halfway up the circuit. Yeah, you can see them on the minimap there. They're about halfway up the circuit, going to the end of Sector 3, and I get stuck with a 20-second penalty for not catching up to the safety car, which I just don't get, because I hardly felt like I had enough time to even catch up. It was literally a lap only that I was given under the delta time, and I had to stick to the delta, so it wasn't like I could speed away and just ignore the delta time. So I was under the delta time limit. I was obeying the delta time on the right-hand side. So I just don't think that's a very just penalty, but we go straight into the green flag. I'm not even anywhere near the train. I'm in second place in the Grand Prix in this race, and I didn't even see the safety car at any point during the safety car period. So now on to lap 34, the end of it, on towards the second last lap of the Grand Prix. Hamilton now is going to try and make a move. So as I said, this could go either way, and it looks like it's going to go the way of Hamilton as he tries to make a pop. We lock up on the left tire. We just about slide it through into turn 1 and keep ahead for second place for now. But this is going to get very, very dicey for a lap and a half left of this race. But I just feel completely cheated at the moment that I didn't even get to catch the safety car. It looked like the train behind the safety car consists of Raikkonen and lapped cars. So yeah, a bit weird, but this is why the safety car got called out. It wasn't actually because Lance Stroll crashed out when he did. It was initially, Lance did actually cause the safety car just for having a puncture. And you can see, just like Van Dorn at Japan, it pretty much is the same sort of case. He's caused a safety car for going off circuit with the puncture. He's on the grass, trying to famously where Kimi Raikkonen got lost at Brazil in 2012. And Lance just kind of parks it up there on the right. So that's what calls out the safety car. And then this is how Valtteri Bottas ends his race. He crashes into the safety car, and then Lance comes in and pile drives into him. So he's already gone round and made a pit stop for his puncture, calls the safety car, and he comes around and smacks the back of Bottas. Absolute scenes here at the Brazilian Grand Prix, but Bottas, for me, just chucking it into the safety car is unbelievable. Right into that. I'm surprised he's not come off any worse, really. That would be very, very worrying if that happened in real life. Crazy, crazy scenes here at the Brazilian Grand Prix. And even crazier here still, on the last lap of the Grand Prix, I'm holding up a train of Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, and Max Verstappen. Hamilton tries to pop round the outside once again, and once again you can see I actually just get decent traction, and he's unable to challenge me. So as we move later into that lap, just cutting back to the last corner now, Kimi Raikkonen has won the Brazilian Grand Prix, and quite spectacularly, will come through to manage to stick for P2. But remember, we've got the 20-second penalty, so although it's second place on the road, I'm not too sure. I kind of hope that Hamilton, Vettel and Verstappen all get penalties the same way I did for not catching the safety car. But as we come across the line, unfortunately, it's not going to be that. I'm the only one who got stuck with a penalty, and I've come home for 10th place. So after all of that fighting, we come home for one measly point.
A great win then for the Maranello team today. Anthony, what do you think made the difference here?
Well, they played the safety car to absolute perfection. There are so many factors to worry about once the race is neutralised. I mean, do you pit for fresh rubber? Do you have the space behind you? How much fuel can you save? If you answer all of those questions correctly, you'll have a good chance. And that's exactly what happened today.
So, here they come now, out onto the podium. Wherever you go, anywhere in the world, the prancing horse flags are dominant in the grandstands, and they're out in force again today. It's Ferrari on the top step once more.
I really feel like we should be up on that podium, but alas, we are not. We're in P10, and it's Raikkonen, Hamilton, and Vettel there sharing the champagne. We come home with 1 point, though, and we still beat our teammate after quite a thrilling Brazilian Grand Prix. And really, I'm going to be honest, those grid penalties, just like the real-life Italian Grand Prix, really mixed things up. Like, the fact I was second place, we had 2 Saubers up in 3rd and 4th, I think it was absolutely bonkers. The 2 McLarens were in the top 5, or top 6 it was, at the very start of that race. Really made it very thrilling. Maybe not at the very start of the race, because we were in second place, and the Saubers ended up as buffers to the rest of the grid. But then it really hotted up once the faster cars got through and were trying to overtake the midfield cars. Really did get very spicy indeed. So a really fun Brazilian Grand Prix. Unfortunately, though, doesn't end in the best way that I really was hoping for, with only 1 point there. But you can see in all other aspects, it was a good day for us. We still managed to beat our teammate and get the team objective there for the team. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're still losing the rivalry to Perez, actually. So hopefully we can do that in the last race. But that brings us to the end of episode number 19, guys. So if you have enjoyed the episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Do get subscribed for more F1 2017 content. And guys, the next episode will be the final one of this season to round out season 1. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that at Abu Dhabi. I'll see you guys for that and the next one. Hope you guys enjoy it the rest of your days. Goodbye.